documentation, okay, of that requirement, and that is what we called it as software requirement specification. Okay, SRS in the form of an SRS document. Okay, so that is the thing. Like the input to that phase is basically the inputs taken from the customers who would like to develop that particular software, their working procedures, their manual system or existing system, how it is working or not, what is their requirement, exact requirement, what their expectation from the software. Everything is basically the input to that requirement analysis phase, and the output is basically the documentation that is called SRS or software requirement specification. So the SRS is having a very standard structure or format that has, I think, it's certified by I think ISO 900, 9001, 9002. Or they have certified companies. They normally follow a specific type of SRS document preparation. If you search it in the net, you can get it some sample SRS document. Okay, so SRS document is once prepared by the analyst, it will be reviewed and accepted by the customer. Okay, and that will going to be a kind of a uh, instrument that customer and the developers will going to use it in the future. Even SRS is so important, then that SRS will not only will going to uh, make an agreement between customer and the developer, but that SRS document will also going to be propagated to all the phases of software development. Okay, so all the phases, whatever it is there, it will going to the SRS going or document will going to be passed from phase to phase or stages of software development. Okay, so so well, now the who will going to do that? So system analyst, okay, system analyst or software analyst, whatever you can tell, software analyst. So they are basically senior people with high experience, with experience in spending time in the industry, with all the managing as well as what is called software development experience. So they actually approach or start doing this particular requirement analysis task, because it needs very high experience kind of thing, very kind of thing. Okay, so basically what they do, they go and study the manual system. Okay, they do the study the manual system, that is called the existing system, whatever there. Let us assume there is no software is running at all. Okay, no software is running at all. Now they would like to go and try to understand how the thing is going on over there. Okay, say you would like to develop an app. Okay, say you would like to develop an app for your own company. Okay, or say you are going to develop a kind of a um, some booking systems. Let us assume you have something and you would like to develop a kind of a booking system. Now there is no app at all is present or existing currently. Now naturally what we have to do, or the analyst will have to do, they will go and study exactly how it is actually happening. Okay, the manual system, how you need a system to be developed that will facilitate or help for quick booking or easy booking of that. See, and take any system nowadays. Take any app, any system that you can take it up from there. Say let us assume Ola. So now initially there was nothing called Ola or something like that, or some booking facilities are not available physically. So normally what used to do, people used to call someone. Okay, can you take me? So they do some bargaining and all everything. Now it's very difficult. It's very difficult to manage this kind of thing because it depends on one or two people. Now you see the scenario has already changed. How it is happening? There will be so many cars which are moving around. Okay, you don't know anything. They also don't know who need that car, and they can easily get a call in their app that there is someone who is need some car facilities or service. So that will reach over there, and they will show through Google Map, and they'll reach, and the pricing and all everything is completely standardized. Okay, no need to worry about that. But initially there was no such system. Okay, people never thought of such kind of system is possible. Now people start, the analysts start realizing that okay, fine, that is my requirement. I should have a kind of a user details. Okay, I should have all the cars details, all the driver detail, the car details or driver details. Okay, and of course the location, the current location of both the customers, the current location of the driver or the car. Okay, so that way they start analyzing the system. They start analyzing the system, and gradually they come up with whatever the system right now we are using. Okay, right now we are using. So that is the most difficult part, I must say. That, see, whenever you have a software, you can think of more on that. Say now you have Ola, Uber, or so many others. Now it is very easy to think what additional thing we are going to do. Okay, but think about the first case when there was nothing such kind of app which available over there. So then doing these things from the scratch is the most difficult thing. How we're going to make it into a realization. Okay, but once you have a system, say Ola, then Uber can come up and they say we will also we can able to develop with these features. So observing an existing system and studying the existing procedures, this is most difficult thing. Okay, and of course you need to have an experience what is the customer's requirement, what is the customer's need, or the what is who are the basically the end users who. Just a minute. Sorry. Missed. Okay, sorry. I missed some slides. Okay, let me start again from there. I don't know why it is moving. So now, required before going to that, what I mean, we have also discussed beforehand. Also, if you can follow that, which we have talked already about the software crisis and all. Now, why the software crisis? Because highly expensive, it fails. Okay. Now, why major software projects fails? Okay, because uh, without understanding or analyzing the required system, that is the system they would like to develop, the customer, they start implementing the system, that means coding, what normally as a student you normally do. Without understanding, you immediately start implementing that system. Okay, later on you do so many things which are there because as a coder you normally have a tendency to do the coding because you concentrate more on coding instead of trying to understand the overall system and its working procedure. Okay, so that is why normally the software developers or the coder, they normally don't go for analyzing the system because that is not their job. You need a big experience to do that thing. Okay, so because whenever we used to give it some problem as a student, you'll gradually find that fact that really it is happening, that whenever you get some problem, you start immediately without analyzing properly or without follow a kind of a systematic way of planning for that designing or planning for that software development. Immediately you'll start implementing that code. And in case of, see, in small projects, academic projects, this is acceptable, but in real life it is never possible. And see, in case of a bridge, okay, without proper planning in pen and paper, if immediately if someone gets that order, work order, to construct a big bridge. So is it a good idea, like immediately without doing any plan in a pen and paper, they start putting pillars and all, giving starting all the construction works? So there are high chance that because of error in the planning, because they don't know what will going to happen at the end after constructing the whole bridge, say 90% is completed, and they observe a big fault in their working so far, and that is happened because of the lack of proper planning. Then can you imagine the situation? Or some way you have constructed that thing, but because of your poor thinking, planning, okay, you have constructed something, a bridge which will going to create a lot of havoc at later phase when people start using that thing. So you can imagine the adverse situation that may crop up in such scenarios. So similar kind of thing that is happening even in software. If someone start directly using that system, implementing the system using any very latest technology, programming languages and all, naturally there will be a big issues over there. Okay, and normally company they don't do too much experiments. Okay, they don't do too much experiments because something which is completely new, uh, it, it may stuck at the later phase. Okay, we are also facing, because we are also developing some systems, I mean some R&D systems we are trying to develop. But the fact is that when we have started with some latest technologies, like React.js or Nest.js and all. Now our I mean we have started with Flask implementation in my lab. It is already I mean already that software has 90%, almost 90, more than 90% has been developed already. Okay, in collaboration with one of the big healthcare company. So it has already been hosted. It is there in the their cloud. So, but the fact is that when we go on starting, we normally don't do this kind of. This is our common habit because we are not actually professionally developing any software. So we are doing something completely new, which is not existing at all. This system. So naturally, we don't know which system will going to work. So we started with PHP and all. Then we keep aside after certain period of development. We keep aside. Then move it to React.js, and then once we did the React.js, we later on we observe that React was having that uh, limitation. So again, we move it to Nest.js, and then we have started with normal Apache server, and then we again moved it to the Flask. Okay, so lot of changes are actually happening when we are going on, because it's completely new. So see, for project like ours, one R&D projects, it is somewhat acceptable because, oh, I mean, that level of, because it's not commercial product. So naturally there is nothing give and take kind of situation arises, like we are paying some value, a customer is going to pay to us. It's a basically an R&D kind of thing. So in that case, this is acceptable. It may go certain more. It may take some more time to experiment with the new methodologies and technologies. But in case of software development company, since it's a commercial purpose, since money is involved, so normally software company they never try with some of the kind of experimental kind of thing, big experiment, because experiment means it need more time. There is a high chance of failure. Okay, so that's why they try with something which is already they have experimented, it is already being done with that technology, and then since they're confident, so then in that case they try with those technologies. But the fact is that you need a kind of a planning, since our one is lacking of planning, because we never normally don't do any pen and paper planning to develop that software. Minor level we have done, these are the things which will be there and these are the facilities, as and when we are going on we are adding those features. But that is not the right way in software development company. Their way approach is completely different. Okay, so what we do, we whenever we conceive some idea, we start immediately the plan implementation, and that is where the big software fails. So software engineering needs a initial study, how my system will going to be. Okay, so that is most important. And that is, and it depends on the customer requirement. Okay, customer having a certain requirement and you have developed something else, naturally the customer will going to reject. So they're not going to consider or accept that particular product, or they will not going to pay the money because that their requirement is something different. It is up to you to capture or take out the actual customer's requirement, and that is the role of what we called it as the system analyst. Okay, so this requirement analysis and specification, as we have discussed earlier also, it's having two distinct activities. One is requirement gathering analysis, that is with the help of series of interactions with the customers, okay, studying the manual systems, and once they capture, they do the specification, okay, they write it down, okay, so that almost all the stakeholders, maybe customers, maybe the development side, almost all people will able to understand what actually the requirement is and what is the requirement, and everybody will have to agree. Okay, with the specification, everybody will have to agree, then only they can start actual implementation or development of that. Okay. So coding is very small part, I must say. It's very minor part. People give very less importance to the coding. Our perception is something like that. Coding is the most important part in software development. It's important definitely because that is a building block. But as a whole, coding is less important job because they feel that can be done very easily. Only thing is that capturing the requirement is the most difficult thing. Okay, capturing the requirement. If my capturing is absolutely fine, there are very less chance that software is going to fail later on. But if capturing is erroneous, it's not partially done. If you are not able to satisfy the customer's requirement or cannot able to capture the what is there in the customer's mind, then possibly you will come up with a software who cannot satisfy the customer. So that's why this is very important. So I have already discussed these things. This is the SRS document is the outcome of that particular phase. Okay. Now, who basically do that thing is very senior people having very high experience in the industry and handling and experience of handling many such systems. So they normally go and study that thing. See, normally company never agree to take up any project, okay, any project, because if it is completely new, normally company don't take much risk, okay, much risk into that key whether they can go for that because they don't have any much similar experience. They are not. I am not talking about exactly the same thing they have developed. So that is also not possible in case of customized software. So what they basically do, because if they have a past experience of or they have a product of similar type with minor changes that need to be done for a particular new customer, say they have developed a kind of a examination management system for JNU or Delhi University. Now Sikkim University having major part is almost remain same, but minor changes it's maybe there. Then definitely they go for show some nowadays interest because they are actually reselling their product with minor changes. So nowadays that is the company normally they do. Other than those, I mean, product non-customized product, because like Microsoft Word, Adobe PDF, these are not customized product because these are already they develop their own and they try to sell. Okay, there is and their requirement is also done by either through customer survey, feedback and everything, but it's not meant for a particular organization or customer, it's for the general use. So but or whatever I'm discussing, these are all basically customized software or software development, product development for a particular organization. So naturally analysts, if they feel that is worthy for them to take because they have a similar product they have developed all in the past, so then they go and approach and to study or discuss that what is the customer's requirement and all, and usually make a team, and then they do a kind of a interactions with the teams within the organizations. I have also mentioned about that for say for Sikkim University. If someone goes for automatization of the entire system and university management system, which now it's being done by what is called this. I forgot that name. It's basically a project of Delhi University. Samarth, yeah. So Samarth is basically government of India's almost all. They are making softwares. You can easily check it like that, like for admissions and all. Basically, Samarth, you can see that Samarth is having the developing their system, web-based system for storing your all the details, registration details, admission details, even for recruitment. Also, people are taking now. Samarth is coming up and then developing software free of cost, for the universities. And for that, what they do, they may have their own system already developed for some different universities, central universities. And then Sikkim University having their own style of working. So to understand what they do, they sit with the team, say finance having own style. So they go over there, "Okay, what is your requirement?" They may go to dean student welfare, asking what is how you manage the students hostels and everything. They may go to administration, they may go to establishment. So lot of sections are there in university. They may go to library, they may go to examinations. So what they do, they normally go to each sections and they think about a particular module. Okay, so finance model, say student management model, say admission model, say library management model, say examination management model. So every modules they go and they try to understand what how the system university actually working, and then they capture these things and then they go to their system, their own system which are already developed for some other universities. And then they, if possible, they try to change, do some addition, subtraction in their existing system to make usable or acceptable by the Sikkim University team or Sikkim University employees. So that means naturally they have to have a series of meeting to understand the system, how they are storing the data, how they are maintaining the different records. Okay, so how they are storing, which format they are storing, everything they need to understand. Okay, everything they need to understand to make it usable the software, so that they can go and change their existing say software. So, and if there is no existing software, in that case they have to develop it from the scratch. Okay, so that is relatively very difficult, relatively very difficult. So, and most challenging also. So anyway, so they go by discussions, series of discussions with the customers and the end users. Say end users in your case is a student. So now they are developing a system for students hostel. Now not only they talk to the customer, that is a dean student welfare, proctor and all, or warden. They may also talk to the students ki what how they want that system it should be. So they try to collect all those things and try to incorporate in the system. So in the requirement gathering, uh, if it is basically there is no system available, no existing system available in the customer side. Okay, then that means they want to do complete automation, okay, from the scratch. Okay, then what they do, say let us assume in accounting management in Sikkim University, what they do, they do basically what is called tally. Okay, they are using tally and all. Tally is very important accounting software. But now, what happened in that case? They may think of how to integrate those features which are available in the Tally in their own software. Okay, so that there will be no use of Tally, or they may integrate Tally itself in that in their system, so that both facilities are available. Now, what the fact is, the think about that there is no Tally at all. Everything they are doing manually in a pen and paper. Okay, like old system. Now, naturally, they have to study how the manual system, that is called manual system, means there is no computer available or computer system available in an organization, okay, or in that particular section. So that is now they have to understand how they are keeping record, storing everything, okay, putting the records, how they are maintaining everything. They need to understand the manual system. Okay, and then how they are storing the data, what is the input and output format for that data. Okay, how it says, let us assume salary slip having a particular format, or student receipt if you are generating some student receipts having a format, or for an examinations the mark sheet having a particular format. Okay, so what are the inputs that user will going to give, say examinations department, examination section or examination department, they how will going to enter the values for that is the marks they'll upload. So someone may say, no, we're going to do student by student what current existing system is having. Like they go by every students, you have to type that marks. There will be a text box next to the students, and student teachers need to upload that mark. Now, someone may say, ki, since the number of students, say, let us assume for a in our the university system, the students are very less. But think about the affiliated colleges or somewhere where then the number of students are very high. In that case, it's very difficult to do manual typing and all. What they could do, they should also have a kind of a single uploading through Excel sheet. That is also possible. Okay, so that is also possible. So in the earlier I mean beforehand, the teacher prepare a mark list. Okay, prepare a mark list through Excel sheet, and now since it is ready, then they can upload that Excel sheet and it will going to be stored in the database. So that can be the input format that it need to be understand, and how the details will going to be printed in a mark sheet, that is the output format. So that also need to be understand ki what is the input and what is the output for a particular system. Okay, for a particular system, and how it basically happens. Say there is something called in examination, there is something called grace. Okay, someone having very a bit less mark from pass out, so normally they normally do some adjustment from other subjects, and then they make a grace so that the student can get a pass mark. Now this system, if you have to upload make it automatic, okay, you have to implement. Okay, you have to implement these things in the help of a code. Now you have to understand how university assign those grace mark. Okay, how they assign, is it directly that they add 1 or 2 marks up to maximum level, or they adjust it with the other subjects. So that procedures they need to understand ki how the university is following these things. Sikkim university's rule may not be same with the other university rule, they may vary. Okay, so these operational procedures need to be understand carefully by the analysts. They have to record everything. Okay, even then they do a video recording also, audio recording also, so that they can later on go through those videos and they can try to conceptualize or make a plan ki how the system will going to be. Now when there is no system available, quite natural, there will be lot of alternative things may come up in the analyst because of lack of communications. I mean proper communication. uh, your requirement is something, an analyst is thinking in other way, or you whatever it is there in your mind, possibly you may not able to convey it well, so that the analyst can understand properly, because the customers are habituated with the manual system, and analysts are habituated with the automatic system. So so lot of kind of such kind of imaginations or creativity may require to capture. Okay, to capture ki what is there. Okay, fine, so you need this. So the customer, the what is called the analyst may say, how do you authenticate whether a teacher is uploading correctly or not. Okay, so in that case customer may say, no, we're going to take a declaration from the teacher, sorry, we're going to give a login password to the teacher, so that you can authenticate, you find these marks has been uploaded by a teacher itself. Okay, the actual teacher. So different kind of imaginations, creativity, all different types of possibilities need to be understand why. I mean, if there is no system, but if there is some system which are already there, they need some kind of upgradation and all, then both parties the life is easy. Okay, because the user, whoever, say right now, our examination system having a existing system that is running now. whenever they go for a new software, more improved software by some other companies, what they do, they basically show that existing system can see we are habituated with this system. Now this is such features are lacking, we need to add these features, we need to change these features. So then what happens, for it is much more easier for the both the side, that customer is also familiar with similar kind of systems, and I mean the developers or the analyst can go through that software and they can understand what is the way that thing is going on, the procedure is going on. Then it is very very easy. Okay. So that's why they need to have a round of meetings with the customer, okay, to gather relevant data, or require a lot of and for that you definitely, the analyst, as I am repeatedly telling, the analysts need a lot of experience for that. A simple developer cannot do these things. So, what are the good attributes or the characteristics of a good system analyst? Okay, so of course you are a very good communicator. Okay, you have to be very smart. Okay, you have to be very smart to take out what is what is going on in the customer's mind. Okay, and it comes only through some lot of experience or spending similar activities for a long period of time. Of course, imaginations, creativity is very important, because until unless you have a, because you are going to create it, and the people, the customers do not have any exposure into that, until unless you can imagine what is going on inside the customer's mind, and until unless you present these things in a creative way, naturally what will happen, it's very difficult to read the customer's mind, and it comes through lot of experience. Um say when you go for routes of meeting with different customers or the different stakeholders, there are high chance that there may be some contradiction may pop up. Okay, because the same thing, same requirement may be given in different ways by two different customers. Okay, so that contradictions need to be handled properly. Say suppose in a plant, okay, in a plant, say some manufacturing plant. Okay, one customers how they're handling key, whenever the temperature of a particular boiler, okay, or some heater is goes up to 100 degrees centigrade, then what is the actions that need to be done, taken for there. Okay, say someone may say no, we're going to first turn off the heater, and then we're going to open the water shower to make it cool, that particular chamber or heater or whatever it is. Now other customer, they say no, we'll not, actually normally don't do these things. What I mean, the best idea is that you first definitely turn off the heater and then we'll switch on the cooler. Okay, we switch instead of giving the water directly over there. Okay, because water may create a lot of havoc over there. So we're going to use the cooler in the case when the temperature of the chamber is more than 100 degrees. Now you have to decide which one you should do. Okay, but things are same. One place someone is telling you will going to open the water shower, another one someone is telling it's you are basically switch on the cooler. Now these are the requirements which you cannot do both the things. Am I right? You cannot do both the things. You are also opening the shower at the same time using the cooler. No, it's not like that. I mean, there was one thing that you have to take up. So these kind of contradictions need to be handled properly. Maybe you needed more rounds of interviews, interviews with the more senior people, and to understand what exactly the requirement is. So sometimes what happens, because manual systems are there are so many lengthy which are there, it's very difficult at the single shot to give all the details at the single shot, like this is our system is. So naturally what happens, they may oversight or ignore, okay, or ignore some of the requirements. Okay, but say for example the same what is called in is your zone, what is called your is called your manufacturing unit. Okay, now it talks about what happens if the temperature of the chamber goes above 100 degrees centigrade. Now what happens if it falls below uh, 90 degrees centigrade. Okay, in that case what will happen to the heater? Should be turned on, or water shower turned off? What to do? Okay, normally so there's so many situations may arise, small things. Sometimes during requirement analysis, this I mean miniature requirement or minute requirement, the people both the side may forget or ignore that thing. So but later on, if necessary, then when people realize that thing, this part is missing, or this has not been captured, or this has not been gathered, what to do over there, then possibly they may again go, and then again go for a certain meetings and all, and then they try to capture those minor requirements. Okay? So that is why it is very difficult to obtain a clear or in-depth understanding of the problem. Okay, there are a lot of issues which are there. I hope you may able to understand the I mean um, complexity of this particular phase, because customer is going one way, developer is analysts are going another way. So if they don't match together, if they don't agree with each other, okay, especially in case when there is no systems are existing and available, okay, I'm talking about that system, then it's very difficult. But the similar, if the similar system is available, then it's and most of the cases this is the thing, company don't take much risk. If the existing similar systems are available, then they normally go for that, because the life is relatively easier, and chances of getting error or fail will be less. Okay, and so that's why the analysts, they normally take much time in this phase to understand the what is the actual requirement of the customer. So what basically analyst wants to understand, okay, there are some specific questions or targets that should be there. That is what exactly the problem is. Okay, what exactly the problem is, how much difficult it is, okay, how much difficult it is, and if any small requirement or maybe large requirement, they have to judge, is it really important to implement it in the software. Because there are sometimes customers may give key, we normally do these things, we normally do that thing, that no need to be implemented through as I mean through the software. Say someone wants key, we normally draft it in the MS Word. So that kind of thing, that can be avoided, because if this MS Word kind of editors are already available, why to implement it in the software? They'll do it separately, and then they may upload that file in the system. That uploading facility may be there, but they don't require any what is called graphical user interface to type, because these some of the softwares are already available. If something can be done in Excel sheet, why to put it in the that system? So that's why the analyst will going to understand ki really it is important to put it in the software. If it can be done very easily by some other means, other alternative, then why to do that? Okay, so these things they need to understand. Okay, then if someone asking me, this is the thing that we need it, now what is the possible solutions? So say someone wants to know, we want user what is called students details need to be verified. Okay, now customers will go into the what is called the developer will try to analyze the what is their way to validate a students, whether the details which are entered by a students are genuine or not. Say someone may say, no, we want you can authenticate the whether the student is genuine or not through other verification, or someone may say through OTP verification. Okay, so a lot of, or through email verification. So many alternatives can come up. Now now how to do that thing, which one is very easier? OTP is easier, email is easier, other is relatively difficult. Okay, because you have to go through the other gateway. So but if someone is authenticated to other, that is the most reliable authentication. So in that case, what to do, what not to do? what is possible. I mean, everything, every possible solutions need to be um, studied from there. Then if someone is doing what with might be the arise some issues that might arise over there. Say someone is paying some money, okay, it's a fees, you are paying some fees, and in between some network disruption happens, or power cut happens. Now in between, how to handle these things, okay. So how to handle these situations that may occur, because it should give back automatically the money, okay, to the customer's account from where it has been debited. So how to do that thing, who will going to do this thing? So normally in such cases, what the software company they do, they normally integrate some gateways. These are already available, like BillDesk, Google Pay, okay, or any other. No, Google Pay is not basically that thing, but one is called BillDesk, then PayU Money. Lot of such kind of gateways are there, so they can integrate directly, because that job responsibility will going to be given it to the gateways to handle the payment and refund back if there is some failure. So these issues, I'm just giving some small instance or examples. These issues need to be very carefully understand at that moment. Okay, say marks are very important. Marks are very important. Now what happened if the hardware crash? Okay, then you will going to the university will going to be a very big problem, very big problem. Ki how that is I mean, you handle if the server crashes. So in that case you have to understand this, how to handle these situations, okay. So in that case someone may come up with this, say ki, no, you should keep a backup in the cloud, okay. Then because it's very crucial, very vital data, so why to store it in the examination system? And that actually even happened in true sense in the examination system. Before examinations, one of the server has crashed, and still the our department server is in use in the examination system, because they could not able to purchase the new server, and they're using one of our server in their system. But I don't know how they back. I think they luckily they kept all the backup in some hard drive and all. They're keeping this. So, but if you don't do the thing, then you're going to lose the entire data. So the best idea that analysts that can suggest, no, you will going to put everything in the cloud. Then there is no chance of what is called uh, loss of any particular data, and it is accessible by anyone, despite your there is no what electricity or internet connectivity in the inside the university. So all the complexities need to be studied at the very beginning. So analysis these anomalies, inconsistencies are very common thing. Okay, so I mean that's why even a highly experienced analyst may also skip. Okay, also may skip into that, but of course in due course of time they may understand this is one of the requirement that need to be I mean to be taken care about that. So when you go for the actual modeling, okay, after capturing all the requirement, once you go for the kind of a specification, or once you go for the formal modeling of the whole software, then possibly it might detect it. So as I have mentioned, that error, anomalies, okay, inconsistencies may occur at any phase or any stage of the software development. That's why from any stage to any stage there must be some go back iterative system should be there, what actually missing in waterfall, classical waterfall model. So this is very common in nature, the occurrence of anomalies, inconsistencies in that may detected in the later phase or later stages of the software development. So now let's talk about the documentation, that is called software requirement specification or SRS document. Okay. So the main of this was what? Streamline the whole requirement. Earlier it was just through discussions and all, the gathering the requirement on. But until unless you document that thing, how both the party will understand, okay, that's what is actually the requirement customer has stated and what analyst has understood. Okay, so that's why there is a formal way of representing this overall requirement in the in the form of a documentation, what we called it as a software requirement specification document, or in short SRS document. Okay, so it basically systematically organize those requirements. Okay, document these things. It's not like a essay kind of thing. It's a style, complete format and structure is available. Okay, and then that document is going to play a ultimate role throughout the life of that software. So it reflects that SRS reflect basically or act as a user's need. Okay, what is actually the user's need, which will going to be reflected and documented over there. Most importantly, it's a basically a legal document. Okay, most important is the SRS is a legal document. Okay, or also the contract document or agreement between the customer and the company. Okay, or it's a reference document. Why it is reference document? Because this document will going to be propagated to every stages or phases of the software development process. Every team will going to first refer what is the actual requirement, what it is there, the SRS, what is how it is mentioned over there, and if the required mentioned SRS document will be documented in such a way such that it is easier for the designing team, such that it is important easier for the development team or testing team or management maintenance team to understand what is the actual requirement. Okay, and of course the coder will going to follow these things, that SRS document, because I'll show you some small examples, that it will be going to be written in such a way such that it can be easily implementable. Okay, it can be easily implemented in the form of a functions by using any programming language. So as I've mentioned, requirement document is a reference document because it will going to be propagated from one team to the other team, one stage to the other stage. So if there is any, because they normally follow that exactly whatever it is there in the SRS document. Then one team cannot violate or ignore or go on adding something additional thing in their phase. Say design team cannot put something additional features over there. Whatever it is there in the document, SRS document, they have to follow, and they try to design it with appropriate way. Coding team will going to follow the design as well as if necessary the SRS document. But normally they do that thing. But SRS they cannot do extra things from there. Testing team also they have to refer SRS document, and they'll see what is the input to a particular function or procedure, and what is the expected output from that particular function or procedure. Okay, they'll going to follow this reference document. Okay, and since it's a legal document, why? Because both the parties need to sign. Okay, both the parties need to sign the contract document or that legal document, so that in future there should not be any controversies, should not occur, saying the customer saying no, that is our requirement, you have done something else, or developers, they should not violate it, they should not deviate from the actual requirement that has been there in that SRS document. So that's why both the parties need to sign over there as a legal document. Okay, to avoid certain level of controversies they may occur in the near future. Okay, both of will have to agree. One sign, they have to agree with that. Once the customer agrees to the SRS document, so what they do, that basically next step basically is the design team. So as a whole, we call it as a development team. So design team, they start modeling the whole system in the form of a functions. The main task of the design team is to make a bridge between the requirement and implementation. Okay, how what are going to be the modules which will be there okay, how those modules will going to be connected with each other, what architecture need to be taken care of. So everything will going to be done by the design team. Okay, so but as a whole, if I consider as a development team, so what they do, they start developing the product according to the given requirement. Mm, so customer will going to accept that product when they satisfy whatever it is there in the mentioned in the SRS document. If they satisfy, they cannot add new thing. We want this extra thing, or no, we have not mentioned anything, something like they cannot ever. So because it is already mentioned in the SRS document. So what happened? So once the customer satisfies with that, they normally whatever it is mentioned over there, then only the customer will accept that thing. So SRS document is somewhat like the black box specification. Black box means you cannot see inside that box. It's a completely dark box. You cannot see. Only thing is that you give something from the as an input to the system, and you just wait for the output. Okay, so the people can only see the input and output from the system. Anything. Okay, so I mean normally see in a television, your input is you're pressing that button of the or you are basically sending a signal, and the output is basically the screen over there. So that means you don't know how exactly happening inside the television. Okay, in a TV, it's basically a black box. You are putting some input and you are expecting some output. So SRS document don't consider much details about what how to do that thing. They normally consider what to do. Okay, what is the purpose? Okay, say for example, student enrollment system. Okay, so they don't know how to implement enrollment system. They only gather what is going to be the input to that system and what will going to be the output from that system. Say enrollment system, input will be all the student details, and output will going to be, if it is successfully entered everything, it will going to give you an enrollment number. That's the output. Okay, so now how to do that thing, how to validate all the data, whether your date of birth is right or wrong, whether you are giving details of your phone number and everything, how to validate these things will going to be ignored over there. As a whole, there will be an enrollment system that is a black box, and input will going to be student details, and output will going to be the enrollment number. Okay, so and that way basically this is one form of an abstraction. Okay, abstractions that avoids how to, but they only consider what to. Okay, what to case. See, this is the thing. So what needs to done, that SRS documents consider, and how to implement, how to do that thing, they completely avoid. Okay, so that is the thing why it serves as a contract document, because it's basically an reference document or contract document between the development teams, design team to coding team to testing team to the maintenance team. Okay, and that's why the analyst should be very careful in writing that thing, so that it can avoid any kind of confusion. Because if there is any kind of a confusion, then that confusion will going to be propagated to different team. When there is a confusion, there will be lot of imaginations may not imaginations, guessing. Guessing may happen over there. Design team may guess that what is called contradictions or confusions in their own way. Coder team may interpret these things in another way. Testing team may interpret it another way. So that's why it's very should be very carefully written, so that to avoid any form of a confusion which may occur in the documentation. And it's normally, since that document is to be should be understandable by the customer, so that's why it should be in writing in all, I mean in such a way such that the customer can easily understand Okay, easily, though it's in a particular format, but at least the language and everything, it should be so simple so that customer can easily understand. At the same time, the development team also can understand, but as far as possible, there should be very less technical kind of thing should be there in the SRS document. Okay. Um, so then from the specifications, a more formal requirement specifications can be write up from there, so that development, it would be easier for the developmental team to implement. Now, what are the good properties of SRS document? Okay, what are the good properties of an SRS document? How it should look like? In fact, these things are also applicable most of the cases for any kind of a documentation. If you are writing some documents, say a project report, okay, say you are writing some project report, that also it's applicable for that. So it's not only SRS document, but for any good documentations, these properties are also applicable. I hope these lessons may also help you while you are going to write your project report and all. Okay, so more specifically, that it should be very precise and coincide. Okay. I mean, you should avoid many unnecessary things in the SRS document. Okay, because it's very to the point, very specific. Okay. But also it should be unambiguous. So that means it should avoid any form of a confusion. As I mentioned, if there is a confusion or ambiguousness, then what is the consequences? Okay, different team may interpret in different way. Okay, and also we have discussed that it should talk about what to do, not how to do. So that means it's basically treat it as a black box. Okay, black box specification, that it should deal with the what to do, not to talk about how to do it. Okay, and it should be something like that you can change it. So change it, so that's why it should be very well structured. If your planning is not well structured, then you'll observe changing something will going to give a ripple effect. Okay, that means side effect to other part of that requirement documentation. Okay, so that's why it should be very easy to change. So normally what people do, they decompose or divide the whole problem into sub problem, a smaller problem. Then it is quite easier to do those changes. Okay, if you decompose it, and also it helps in well structured documentation. It should be consistent all throughout. Say for a particular term, in one place you are using, and another place you are using some other with the other name. Okay, with the other name. So that basically very I mean inconsistent. Okay, so this is also applicable for any technical documentations. Say you have mentioned that x equals to 5. Okay, x equals to 5. Now in the x, you know what is x. Now the same x you are using in some other part of the document, and there you have mentioned x dash or xy, then it is very confusing. Okay, because x should be, if you are mentioning x, it should be you have to mention everywhere x. If you are using a particular short form, then you have to keep those consistency all throughout the document. It should not be something else, something different. It should be, so that means, so throughout the document, I mean, people can easily understand a term from in any part of the document. Okay, fine, it has been mentioned previously. It means this. So that definitions or that the details about that particular term should be there all throughout the document. Okay, so consistently. Okay, and it should be, of course, the complete in that case. It should not have half done kind of thing. Okay, you have completed, but you have not completed fully for a particular requirement, how to do, what to do, and everything. If it is incomplete, that may detected in the later phase of the development, and it may create a lot of problem. For for any kind of documentations and all. Uh, mm, this is very important, that is traceable. Okay, traceable means, especially in case of SRS documents, traceable means, say, coding team has developed a particular module. Okay, now any member of the team can understand very easily that that particular module corresponded to which design, which part of the design. And then any people should understand from the development team that that particular design comes from which requirement. Okay, so this traceability, okay, traceability is very very important, otherwise you will miss everything, you will mess up everything. Okay, that this code module has been developed based on what is actually the requirement, so you can go back, look back. So from code to design to SRS document, or from code to SRS document also, it should have that properties, that looking into the module you can easily understand what is the requirement. So say, let us assume for a book library system, there is a module that you have implemented called search book. So it's very easy, it's very easy. You can look into document design document, you will going to find it the name search book, and what is their purpose. In the SRS document also you can see what is the purpose of the search book, kind of thing, what is the input and what is the output from that particular module. So that traceability is of that document is very very important. Okay, and the you should, I mean, the SRS document should avoid non-verifiable terms. What is non-verifiable? It means the terms which are you cannot uh, quantitatively judge. Okay, quantitatively judge means, say, uh, user friendly. The term user friendly. How will going to quantify? How will going to physically examine, assess that this is called user friendly? It's very vague term. Okay, so you cannot verify that user friendly. If you give a good user interface, it's always not mean it's an user friendly. Okay, but the fact is that memory requirement for a particular student is not more than 5, or say some image, some students are uploading their images for photograph, passport size photograph. You can put a restrictions key, the size should not be less than 25 MB. So that is somewhere verifiable, you can verify really it is more than 25 MB, more than 25 MB or not. So that kind of things, it's verifiable. You can physically, you can examine, judge. But the terms which are, say, very user friendly, okay, user friendly, then easy to access, okay, these vague terms are basically meaningless, you cannot verify. So SRS document, normally even in your project also, major project also, if you do uh, application development projects, so in that case, um, if you do these things, basically what will happen, SRS document normally, there are three types of mainly in your requirement, you should, it's a good practice that you should mention about the functional requirement, and another is non-functional requirements. Constraint on the system, it's for project, it's not that important, but whenever you write any project report, you should, if you are developing some application software, then you should have a kind of a functional requirement and non-functional requirement. What is more important is functional requirement, and that functional requirement is going to be implemented in the form of a code or testing. Non-functional requirement is directly not related to the implementation. Okay, these are basically kind of a side effect that users may expect from the system. So SRS document, basically the formal, I'm talking about the formal requirement. How they do, as I mentioned, that there is a input and there is an output. Okay, and it must pass through a black box. Okay, a black box, that is called, we normally called it as a procedure or a functions. Okay, so SRS document consists of set of inputs, set of outputs, and set of procedures or functions. And the task of the function or procedure is just to transform the input to an output form. So, say in that case, as I mentioned, that student enrollment system, where input will going to be student details and output will going to be the enrollment number or some error message if it says your enrollment is not successful. Okay, so that is the output. Okay, so for a particular module I'm talking about. Okay, so input is, so output, and there will be, you have to implement a procedure that something is there, we don't know exactly what to do, but if we pass this data through these procedures, it will going to give me output. Okay, so you can think about a kind of a functions or procedures like a library function. You don't know exactly how they have implemented, but you can give a data and you can expect an output from them. Say you have written a function for prime number checking, very simplistic way, and that functions you have given it to the your some of your friend. Okay, some of your friend, but they don't have any facility to open up your code, it is locked. Then what will happen? You have already told your friend PC to use that function, you need to give a value. Okay, and you can expect whether it's a prime number or not. So what will happen is, your friend will going to give some integer value over there, and they just wait for the output, and after calculations it will going to say this is an input and this is an output, whether sorry, this is a prime number or not. But that has been hidden from there. So same, that procedures will assume that there will be some functions or procedures. It will take this input and it will going to give an output. Up to this, no details inside. Okay, how it has been, what is the logic, how it has been implemented. Say for a library system, how to write a functional requirement. Okay, so there is a module that has been identified. If you can remember, we have already discussed some of the major functionalities. That is called search book in a library. So search book in a library, you have to give a marking, numbering. Okay, so this is my first requirement. So F1. Okay, that is my first functional requirement, F1. Now you have to mention what is the input to that module and what is the output from that module. So what will happen, that input is say author's name and output is going to be the book details. Okay, book details and where that particular book is located in the library rack. Okay, so that also it will going to give it over there. So this is what is my functional requirement. So but how to implement, it's completely avoided. Okay, that is not, that should not be there in the requirement document. Only thing is that we find this is already, librarian has mentioned, see, user should able to search the books and their positions in the inside the library. So naturally, then what will be the input to the system? Yes, author's name. And what will be the output? That it will going to give the book details and where the book is located in the rack. Okay, so that is the thing that functional requirement will going to show display to the users. So but in SRS document only it will show a kind of a functions like F1, that this is the search book and what are the inputs and what are the output, and there will be F1 is basically my procedures. So functional requirements, basically what they do theoretically, it's basically high level requirement. High level requirement means whenever you talk about what to do, this is called high level requirement. Means you are not going into the inner details, the actual details like how, sorry, what to do. Requirement is basically high level requirements. When you avoid how to, then how to means it's a low level requirement. Means you are, how to means how you're going to implement that thing. So you are basically going more on the technical side, that how to implement these things. So as far as functional requirement, basically avoid the things in very top level, from the top level or from the abstract way. It says ki what is the requirement. Say for search book, the requirement is you have to give in this input to the system, and you can expect this output. That is my requirement, and that has been given by, say, a librarian. So each high level requirement, it takes some data from the user, okay, and it take out output in some particular pre-specified format, okay, a pre-specified format. So it's up to the user's own choice, okay, how they want. uh, and for every requirement, you should the SRS should be able to write it in the form of a functions, okay, in the form of a functions. If you cannot write it in the form of a functions, then that means some way something is missing, or some way your requirement capturing is not correct. It should able to convert any requirement in the form of a module or in the form of input and output. If you can able to uh, uh, easy I mean segregate out that this is a module, whenever you think about a module, it should have an input and expected output, okay. If you can do it in that way, then you can think of a kind of a module or a function, okay. And if not, then something is wrong. So again, I'm repeating that for a functional requirement, it should have input data, output data, and what to do. That should be there. What to do, that processing. But how to do, that you are basically skipping. So basically, the processing required to obtain the output data from input to the output. So that means purpose of that particular function, say search book, should be there somewhere. The purpose of that book search book module is to take user the author's name or author details or ISBN number, and it will going to give you the book details and the exact location in the set. So that you can write it the purpose of that particular functions. Now, always some of the performance related things of a system cannot be described in the form of a functions, that we can normally mention, that can be mentioned as a non-functional requirement, okay. What are those things? Maintainability, that system should be easily maintainable. Portability, say if you are changing from one operating system to the other operating system, it can be done. If you want to move from one hardware architecture or hardware system or server to another new server, that also easily over there. And usability, that means there should be more and more usability, more use should be there in that for that system. So see, these terms are basically non-verifiable. These terms are non-verifiable kind of thing, okay. How are you going to say maintainability? How are you going to say, yeah, I mean, yes, the some no, sorry, some way it's verifiable, because say maintainability in certain aspects you can say maintainability. Portability, when once you're able to port from Linux to the Windows environment, that is verifiable, okay. And particular feature, whether it's having a proper use or not, that also some way you can verify, okay. You can physically you can verify. So that but you cannot implement that. You can suppose say highly secured system, okay, it is some way verified, okay. It's secure system, some way you can verify, but that cannot be implemented directly in the form of a functions. So that you cannot mention it as a functional requirement. You have to mention it as a non-functional requirement. So say reliability issues, performance issues, okay. How the it's easier for the human user to interact with the system, okay. If there is any printer associated with that, how easily you can give a print command from there, okay. As I mentioned, security, maintainability, these things are the basically the side effect over there, from there. So these things are basically my non-functional requirements. You cannot implement it in the form of a functions, input, output. It's basically it talks about the performance of my system. In fact, user friendliness is also a kind of a non-functional requirement, but always it's not verifiable. Okay, always it's not verifiable. Yes, up to certain level you can verify. You see, it's very easy to search it. You can easy to get a drop down menu, but clicking and everything. So, but it again depends on your user to user. Someone may say this is good user friendly. Someone may say no, it's not user friendly. It also relative. Constant means the restrictions that you're going to put it over the strict requirements which are there. That is what the system should do and what the system should not do. Okay. Say as I mentioned, uh, for uploading your photograph, it should not be more than 25 MB kind of thing. So this is a kind of a constraint that you are putting it over there. You will not go because to reduce the memory requirement, storage requirement, you can allow students. I mean, not more than 25 MB image. Okay, so you have to reduce your memory requirement, or the system is something like that students enrollment system students should be verified through OTP system, OTP based system, or through Aadhaar. So these are basically the constraints that you can put it I mean in your system. So say some of the constraints something like that key your my system should able to work with that much amount of memory. Say 4 GB 4 GB RAM is sufficient to run my system. Say 8 GB RAM should be sufficient to that, because all common machines, that means if my requirement of memory is much more higher, so naturally you cannot run these things in a simple machine. Okay, so it should have a standard memory requirement. So these are basically some constraints. Say it should work both in Linux as well as in Windows. So that is operating system requirement. Okay, say if someone say no, it should able to run only in Mozilla Firefox. It should able to run in what is called Microsoft Edge. Okay, so if someone wants to run in Google Chrome, most probably it will not going to be well viewed. Okay, well viewed. So these are the things that may have a problem. Someone may say no, I'd like to use MySQL. Someone may say no, we're going to pay money. We're not going to take use free versions of the these things. So we'll go by the Oracle. Or someone may say no, we're going to use MongoDB. So what anything can requirements may be there from the customer sides, from the customer sides. Okay, or even from the developer side. If it is silent, then custom developer can go by anything, or the analytics can go by anything. So these are the constraints that can be given by the customers as well as by the developers. So capabilities of the IO devices and all standards, different standard compliances are there, like different network protocols which are there, whether it supports or not. Say someone say no, it should be IP4 enabled or IP6 enabled should be there if it is a web-based system. Okay, how the data should be represented, whether it's in Excel sheet or whether it's the manual typing in the on the text box. So all the details can be come up in the constraints. Now, how the we normally organize an SRS document? First is the basic introduction about the document. Okay, then functional requirement, non-functional requirement, and the constraints. Say and another thing is that, as I mentioned, that since the document should be traceable, and the best idea to make a document traceable is that try to make use of some proper numbering, serial numbering, like section, subsections, and all like that. You should have a requirement, say requirement one, requirement two, and all. Now, what is say it's initial stage, which is less formal. The analysts how they do that thing. They divide the whole requirement in the form of some requirements. and then requirements will going to be later on mapped to functions. So what is the requirement? We said the first requirement is that once user selects the search option, he is asked to enter the keywords. Okay, so these are some requirements, and these are in normal English writing. So the descriptions, the system should output details of all books, okay, whose title or author name matches any of the keywords entered. Details include title, author name, publisher name, year of publication, ISBN number, catalog number, location, and the library. So all the details it is going to be displayed on the user screen. So that is my first requirement as a search option. Say requirement the two is the renewal of book. So what will happen over there when someone press that renew option? So user will ask the membership, two things that is required: membership number and password. Okay. So after once the password is validated, the list of books borrowed by him are basically displayed. Why? Because membership number is through membership number they can easily track what are the books which are being borrowed by a particular member, and then from there they can tick, okay, tick this particular book I would like to renew, okay, online. So user can then renew from the book in the corresponding tick box in the renew box, and then once they submit, if there is no restrictions already put by the librarians or administration, then the book will going to be renewed, and what is called the new renew return date will going to be showed to the customer. Now you see, if I think about the search requirement, the requirement one, the search requirement. Now I can divide it into more subtasks. First is, that's why the name has been given. R means requirement 1.1 and R1.2. That is, these are my, now I'm basically subdividing. Okay, so input is search option. What is the search option? Means there will be a button or menu. We will select, and what will be the output? It will going to give an output that user give the keywords and everything for the book. And what is the output? Sorry, R1.2. R1.2 will going to be that you are dividing that input, the keywords that it will going to user will going to see. The R1.1 is just for display. Okay, so what is the input to that R1.1? If you press a button or menu, select a menu search, it will going to take ask from the user, just give a display message, enter keywords. Now in R1.2, what will happen? Now in that case, if the user will going to type the keywords, so the input to the system will going to be the the keywords, and what will be the output? As we already know, that it will going to give the entire details of a book and their location in the rack. And in common sense, what the function will going to basically do, it basically search the book list for the given keywords. Okay, that is the purpose of that. It's not how, see how doing, whether you are going to execute some SQL statement or not. So that is a different thing. But here what it is doing, what is the purpose of that particular search module or the requirement? It will going to just simply search based on the given keywords. Now what is requirement to the renewal? So that also you can divide it into two requirement. I say R.1 and R.2. R.1 is just the asking for the details. So once the input is what, clicking renew button or selecting the renew options from the menu. Now once they selected, what will be the output? It will going to show a kind of a dialog box where it will ask for that membership ID and the password. Okay, that is going to be displayed. That is up to that. That is the role of that particular requirement. That it will just simply display a input screen that enter your membership number, enter password. That is the only purpose of that R2.1. Now what is the R2.2? It will going to take that membership number and password as an input. Okay, and then it will display the list of books taken by that particular member. And then what will happen, and then they can do the then after that there may be one module for renewal. So let's see if whether it is there or not. Yes, it is there. So then what is the purpose of that? The after password validation, it will call for a search books issued to the customer user from borrower list, and then display all the books taken by a particular customer based on its membership number and password supply. So that means some level of password validation is also necessary here. And R3 is what? It will going to take from the user which book user wants to renew. Okay, and what output, what it will do, that it will going to give a confirmation that the book has been renewed, and maybe it will going to display the next return date. Okay, that also can be part of that output. Okay, and then what will be there, what is the purpose in normal, if you describe what is the purpose, it basically renew the books selected by the borrower from their list of books. Now, there are some example of bad SRS document. As I mentioned that it should be structured, but if it is structured means what to avoid. That is, avoiding means unstructured specification. Okay, what is that? One of the most type of specification document difficult to change, as I've mentioned to you already. So it's very difficult to change. You cannot do changes in that documentation. If it is something like that, then your documentation is completely bad. If it is not precise, if it is ambiguous, and if lot of confusions or contradictions may be there, they are basically unstructured documentation. Noise, uh, there may be some irrelevant things which may be there in the document. Okay, I cannot show you exactly some example. If possible, I'll show you some example document. So if there is some informations or facts which are there in that document which are completely irrelevant, then we normally treat it as noise. Okay, they're irrelevant. Noise means irrelevant. Okay, and sometimes you ignore the I mean some part may be ignored by analysts. Okay, or the solutions are not mentioned over there. That means somehow it's basically incomplete document. So that also considered as a very bad documentation. Over specification means if you go on putting too much how to should be completely avoided. Okay, how to should be completely avoided. Okay, say for example, library member name should be stored in a sorted descending order. That kind of details is meaningless. That kind of details should not be there. It will automatically, it's an internal arrangement whether you're going to keep the what is called I mean members name in sorted order or unsorted order. It's a different issue. You don't have to mention everything in the documentation. These something such kind of things are kind of a extraneous, and or also something called over specification. Over specification also should be avoided, because it's not none of the librarians or libraries business if whether the data will going to be stored in a integer format or float format or a character format or in a sorted order or unsorted order. So that also should be avoided over there. And then contradictions or confusions, one of the things, if one is missing, another is same thing. If there is no consistency in the document, then you are preferring the same thing in different place in different ways. As I mentioned the example of x and x dash, or you have mentioned one place one item as x, another place you have mentioned that thing as xy. Okay, so these kind of contradictions is also leads to inconsistencies in the documentation. So ambiguity, this is another characteristics of bad SS document, which are basically say what which are not verifiable physically or quantitatively. So like user interface. Okay, user. How are you going to define it's a good user interface? Your good may be different in other place. Someone may say no, it's not a good. You may say it's a good. How are you going to verify? How are you going to quantitatively assess this is called good user interface? And another thing is that forward reference. Forward reference is very bad characteristics even in any good documentations. Forget about SLS. Even for the your project report also. Okay, what is forward reference? See, whenever you are that to understand something, some fact, you have to go page number. Suppose you are in page number 9, and for details, you are referring that for details, please refer to page number 953. Uh, that is very bad. That is very bad. So the reader will going to feel very inconvenient to understand that they have to go to page number these things, and then they have to take out what is there over there. Okay, so that thing also should be avoided even in the good documentation or in the project report also. Then something wishful thinking, like wishful means which are like, say I need a very beautiful I mean logo over there. I need a very beautiful what is called colorful user screen over there. I need a very beautiful kind of like some kind of non-technical wishful kind of thinking, okay, which do not have any kind of a realistic solutions for that. Okay, it's very difficult. Whenever someone's enter, it should show its past video. Let's say these are something wishful kind of thing. It's hardly having any relevance with the software which over there. So that kind of thing should be avoided. I mean, in a SRS document. So I'm just avoiding these things. So I'll go to the another example of library membership automation software system. Say a library wants to do it. Okay, there are 3 functions they have identified. One is your so so library membership automation system, the new member, entry of new member, renewal of the membership, and cancel of the membership. Now what that system describes in a SRS document. So what it says, when the new member option is selected, the software asks details about the member, name, address, phone number. That means the all member details will going to be system will going to ask from the member. So if the proper information is entered, a membership record for the membership is created. A bill is printed for the annual membership charge, say for any library which are not like free member library in the university, say in a regular library, normal library. So normally they charge, and some security deposit if it is payable, how to payable and everything. So for a library system, renewal like the previous one. So the system will going to ask the member's name and his membership number. So they'll check the validity whether really this data entered is valid or not, whether this data is available in the database or not. Okay, because that is an existing member or not. If the member entered data is valid member, so membership, I mean expiry date is updated. Okay, so it's for the renewal of the membership. It's not the renewal of the book. Okay, and annual membership bill will going to be printed for that. Otherwise, it will going to print certain error message that this is invalid, or I mean no renewal is required. You are already a member. And then if someone wants to cancel the membership, okay, what will happen? The option is selected and the name of the valid membership is entered. Say I would like to withdraw my membership. So what it will do, the membership is cancelled, and then the refundable amount that has been taken at the early stage of membership enrollment of the membership enrollment, it will going to create a check for the amount into the withdrawal of the membership, and the membership record is deleted. So these are the requirements. These are the requirements that given by the say that particular librarian of the library, and now that need to be implemented in the form of the software. Okay, so I mean I don't know whether it is there or not. Actually. Now these things you can these three requirements you can think of in writing in the format that we have already discussed. Requirement 1, requirement 2, requirement 3, that you can do it. Mhm. Requirement 3, you can think of how you can design I mean you can create an SRS document. So I'm avoiding these formal specifications, formal specification, or I just very simply I can go ahead with that. Okay, that means it's more formal means more math in terms of more mathematical way or more technical way. If you write it the SRS the formal specification, there are some standard way of writing formal specifications on that. I mean I forget that name of that. That's formal specification. Um, if I get it, then I'll let you know that one. So it's basically helps in easy understandable by the development team. It's not for the customer team, a customer side to understand. Formal specifications mainly for the development team. So accurately specify a system, verify that implementation satisfied the request specifications or not. That means if whenever you do a formal specification, it is verifiable. Okay, it's some way it's verifiable that really it is possible or not, or happening or not. Okay, there are some I forget that thing. So that if you specify these things in formal way, then it is well defined. Structures are being used and ambiguities will not going to be there. And even another good thing is that you can use some software itself for writing a formal specifications, because once it is formal you are going to use a formal structure and format, formal notations, formal symbols, okay, for more standard symbols, and then chances of ambiguities will going to be very less. So as I mentioned, automated tools can also check that properties of the specification because it's a formal one. And sometimes these executable specifications are also there. Even nowadays there are so many tools are also available, like that what it is called computer aided software engineering case tool, that they facilitate these formal specifications to take out in normal English and then convert it into formal structure. Okay, and once it is there, possibly if you can write it this requirements in a formal way, automatically also you can go for design and implementation itself. That is also possible, or it may help the design team have done it can reduce the burden of design team as well as the coding team in some aspects. But as the name suggests that it's a formal studies or formal modeling is always very difficult to understand because it's mostly written in a mathematical language using mathematical notations. Okay, so difficult to learn and use, and it's not uh, very good in for the complex system, because complex systems are changing very frequently, because it's very difficult to capture the customer's requirement at the single shot. So it's very difficult. It's not suitable even for the formal specification in case of the complex systems. So with that, I'd like to finish it up. This what is called your software requirement and analysis. So if you have any queries, you can ask me. Do you have any queries? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any queries?
No, sir.
No. Fine. Thank you. See you in the next class.